Hola, ¿qué tal, Makers? Bienvenidos a otro nuevo programa de La Hora Maker. Esta semana vamos a hablar sobre uno de los temas que están más en boga por todo el mundo, que es el tema de la biología sintética. Y en este caso vamos a hablar de Open Biofabrics. El mes pasado tuvimos la suerte de poder estar en Fab Festival y entrevistar a Charlene Tegui y Sabrina Magog, que son dos personas que están lanzando este proyecto, Open Biofabrics, para crear textiles a partir de tejidos bacterianos. Es un proyecto muy interesante que permitiría generar toda una serie de materiales utilizables para generar nuestra ropa, pero que en lugar de venir de plantas o animales, vendrían de estos cultivos biológicos. Es un proyecto que está pensado para funcionar con elementos muy simples. Son unas recetas muy sencillas y nada, este programa también comentar que toda la parte de entrevista va a ser en inglés. Os he hecho esta pequeña intro por si alguno no tiene dominado el inglés. Bueno, no, ¿qué le vamos a hacer? Mi francés es bastante malo y su español tampoco era muy bueno. Así que nada, optamos por el inglés. Esperamos que os interese la entrevista y nada, también invitar aquí a Uribex, que está con Diario Maker en Telegram, a que publique alguna noticia sobre biología sintética. Seguro que nos está escuchando. Así que nada, vamos allá con la entrevista.
Okay, here we are in Fab Festival in Toulouse, and we are with Jacqueline from Open Biofabrics. I'm quite curious about the project. So, hi, Jacqueline.
Hello.
What
Cesar.
is your project about? Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, so Open Biofabrics aims at making accessible to everyone the action and the process to actually create and make biofabrics at home.
Okay.
First. So basically, it's we want to act into the textile industry.
Okay.
But the first step of our project, because it has different steps, it's for everyone to be able to do it.
So the thing is, here we can see several different steps.
Yes.
Where you go from the liquid part to create some kind of small cultives, and then how does it work for?
Okay, so the recipe, it's a recipe. It's a mix between science, biotechnology. It's a recipe. It's mixed between, it's kind of like cooking.
Okay.
But mixed with the project as a textile. So basically it starts as cultivating your bacteria.
Okay.
And you cultivate your bacteria with a kombucha bacteria.
Okay.
It's basically it's a Chinese ancient drink.
Okay.
And basically with the recipe of Susan Lee, a British designer who created that recipe.
Okay.
You can make a biofabric. So it starts as cultivating your bacteria.
Okay.
In the recipe with water, tea, sugar, vinegar. It's very simple.
Okay.
Okay. Then if you want to make it a big
sheet of
okay. Fabric, you put it in big
containers.
Containers, yeah.
So here the bacteria are floating
in the recipe.
Okay.
So this is a container of 10 liters. Okay. Of recipe, and then you put the bacteria, the bacteria,
and then
kombucha.
It starts multiplying, and you get a complete sheet of
you can see that after, it depends on the temperature of the atmosphere. Basically, after about 10 days, if you cultivate within 20 degrees, you're going to end up with a fabric on top of it.
And do you need any kind of special incubation process, like certain temperature or if?
We decided to not have a special temperature, just to leave it as a normal temperature, not to use too much energy, because we're trying to use really the circular economy in the process, which is 100% natural and environmental. So we left it as so we don't use too much energy. Okay. So if you want to go faster, you could have 25 degrees.
Put the heater on
exactly.
And make it fly.
But we decided to leave it at 18 degrees.
Okay.
So then you have that fabric. If you leave it for this was about 3 weeks, I think.
Wow.
To make it very thick.
This is thicker, and so it can just start replicating and consuming more of the recipe. And
yes. So it consumes the recipe at the end. You're not going to have too much recipe at the end.
Okay.
Then you want to dry it.
Yeah.
Right? To have the material.
Yeah.
So then you dry it, and it ends up like this. It leaves. You lose about 98% of the water that's inside the recipe. And then you have this. I mean, you have a picture, but you have something that is different. You can have, according to the thickness of your material, you can end up, if it's very thick, we end up having a kind of leather.
Okay.
Like we call it leather, but it's a really natural vegetable. I don't know how you call it. It's a biofabric.
Biomaterial, yeah. That's.
We call it biofabrics for the use that we want to have.
It looks quite like raw meat.
And skin, yes, kind of like leather.
Yeah,
it's very strong. If you take it and try to separate it, it's very strong. You can't actually break it.
Wow.
You can also have some paper. This is paper.
Okay.
If you touch it, this is not very strong, but you can have a sheet of papers also.
Okay. Wow.
And then what we do is we make it beautiful.
That's the thing. Okay.
And
so
this is the thing.
You use it to create designs, and this is done using laser cutters?
Lasers, yes.
Okay, so you put patterns into it and make it beautiful.
Exactly.
It looks really... There are some of those that look really amazing, like that hexagonal pattern where you sew different colors and...
Yeah.
It looks really fine.
Yeah. So we do our business cards also with it. So this is some intermediary products that we do. So that because right now the textile cannot be used right away. I mean, we're prototyping clothes, but we're still also doing research R&D on it because it also the water reactivates the material. So it's going to be a bit viscous.
Grumpy, yeah.
Like I don't know how you call it, but it's not going to degrade or anything. It's you can actually dry it again after if you have some water on it. So it's also a changing of your mind how you want to wear a clothes.
But it's interesting thinking about it because if it's going to reactivate, maybe it can heal itself in some way.
Yes, some people are actually using this bacteria and this product as a band-aid. Some people are already doing research, and it's not yet commercialized, but people are working on it.
Interesting. And what is your background?
I used to work in retail. Okay. So I worked for 7 years in China, and I was implementing luxury brands onto the Chinese market.
Okay.
Reason why I wanted to, after 7 years in pollution and all the drawbacks of the textile industry, I decided to find out what kind of new biomaterials we could use to change the industry. And my business partner, she's also a fashion designer, and we met at the same
at
same
the right
point,
moment,
breaking point where we wanted to change things.
Right time and looking for a good project to work on.
Exactly.
And how are you related to? There is a new trend right now in several places, even here in France, like the bio hacking spaces and like La Payesse and this. Are you related to them? Are you working with them?
So we are. We have a third person that is also helping us on the project. His name is Xavier Coadic, and he co-founded Le Biome. Okay. It's the first Fab Lab, biomimic Fab Labs in France. It's in Western France, in Rennes. And he's all over the place in France, and he's a biohacker.
Okay.
So he's also an explorer. And he helps Fab Labs to develop.
That's very interesting to tie a broader network of people that might use. And I'm really curious here in the stand we are. You have all the process. It's very beautiful to see all different steps. And I'm really curious about something about SCOBY.
Yes, SCOBY.
What's SCOBY?
So SCOBY, it's actually the bacteria that we use to grow.
Okay.
We call it SCOBY because in English it's I don't want to say something wrong, but it means symbiotic combination of bacteria and yeast.
Okay.
To make fibrous cellulose.
Okay, so that's the basic ingredient. Name. So you have all this. It reminds me, in one of the most famous projects related to maker culture in Spain is it's called Clone Wars. That there are 3D printers replicating like wrap brand of that. And there is a tree that reminds me of that, like the parent and the...
Exactly, that's the thing that we're doing because, we had our first bacteria, Bertrand. We called it Bertrand.
Okay.
And then it made all our babies, and babies became dads and moms, and then this is how we keep track of all the bacteria and fabrics.
Changing stuff and trying to find the best breeds of bacteria that
this is all the experiment that we've done on them. And so basically we ask people to give us names.
Okay.
And then we give...
I was thinking there were people experimenting too, like...
No.
Oh, Julia, Mathieu... Or...
No, you can give me a name and we'll give it to one of our SCOBY. Okay. And then we'll send you an email so that you can keep track with what it's becoming.
That's interesting. That's the interesting part. And interesting twist in terms of real evolution. It's absolutely...
They're living material. Well, sometimes they die, so we just say rest in peace and...
it's interesting to see more of this project working with raw bacteria. I remember one of the in Transmediale, like 3 years ago, there were some guys from Indonesia. Mm-hmm. They were also working with bacteria because...
Yes, we know them. I mean, we haven't met them, but we know what they're doing with the soya.
And it's interesting trying to take bacteria and bring them to the public space, to have the conversation around that, and also to showcase what can be this used for people on day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and they're doing also bags and clothes and...
Really?
Yeah, it's very nice. They're using the soya bacteria that is actually polluting all the rivers, so that it also goes at, okay, what can we do with all these the waste? And so it's a small fab labs of women in Indonesia, and so they're retreating that
the soya bacteria. Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
As always, we always link to the project we talk in the Laura Maker. So if you are interested to know more and even to put name to some of the breeds of the bacteria, just get in touch with them because this is a really cool project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.